Hello everyone and welcome to the Dudze podcast. This podcast is dedicated to meet friends and talk about their experiences with physical exercising and the challenges to keep moving their bodies and try to be healthier every day. I will invite former athletes, personal trainers, kinesiologists, chiropractors, people that recover from drugs or accidents. Also, people that started exercising after turning 40s and now are feeling much better than before. Thank you to our sponsor, AuthenticTshirtCompany.com. Check them out for quality apparel for great prices and a great selection of sizes that range from XS to 4XL in almost every style. They ship quickly from their Canadian warehouses, and if you are not completely satisfied, they pay for the return shipping. After choosing your items, use promo code Dudze to receive 25% off your first order. Valid for the month of July 2023. Thanks again, and let's go back and start our Dudze podcast. Hello everyone, this is our episode number 22. And today I have an amazing guest, Sach Lattin. Let's go back to our studio. Hello everyone and welcome to the Dudze podcast. Let me start presenting our guest. Today our special guest is Sach Lattin. Welcome Sach. How are you doing, Sach?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Sach is 45 years old and he was a CBSA officer. And now Sach has been raising money for good causes through running.
Yes.
And in August, he will be running 22 marathons in 22 consecutive days.
Yeah.
Sach will be running 22 marathons in 22 consecutive days to raise money for Honor House, starting in August 5th in Revelstoke and finishing August 27th at the Bastion in Victoria, BC. Bastion has a monument in Victoria that commemorates the lives of first responders that passed away in the line of duty. This challenge Sach is facing is to highlight the consistency of effort. Congratulations Sach for all your dedication, effort and hard work. And thank you for what you have done to Honor House. Wish you all the best. Can you tell me about your journey? How did you get here?
Yeah, it's been a long one, man. It's been probably, let's say 3-4 years in the making, I suppose. And it all started right before the pandemic.
Oh my God.
So I was going through a separation and divorce, and I was probably the cause of a lot of the issues. Not probably, very, very likely that I was the squeaky wheel in the marriage, right? And I was presented with the type of person I was at that time, and I wasn't happy with who I was. And so that started the process of me just kind of doing some self-reflection. Now, I've been fairly active most of my life, and I've used physical activity to kind of manage most of my mental health most of my life. But when the pandemic kicked, like many people, we didn't have the access to various fitness facilities, and that affected me.
Right.
And so it affected me massively because I'm going through a divorce. I have a 2-year-old daughter at the time. Have a house, finances, all these things are kind of happening. Pandemic starts happening. So really, everywhere I was dealing with so much pressure and stress, even at work. Everywhere was like my life was falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it was. And I was to blame for all of it. Right? So I was like, okay, man, I gotta figure out how to put the pieces back together. And I started by reading a couple books. So those books kind of helped me kind of refocus a little bit. I read a book called Extreme Ownership, written by Jocko Willink. And the second book I read was, and I read a ton of others, but these were the two instrumental ones.
Okay.
The second book was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And so, as you can imagine, very fit guy. I was training jiu-jitsu and lifting weights all the time. And those two things were taken away, and I I had a major depressive episode. I was struggling with depression and anxiety like massively. And I had to go see a doctor, had to get the medication, had to go through all those steps to kind of stabilize myself. But after reading these books, and I was just like, man, I gotta do something because I can't be fit, I can't do anything, I gotta do something. So I read that book, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and the underlying theme I read out of that book was that do difficult things and chase adversity sort of idea. And for me, I hated running. I hadn't ran since high school.
You didn't like running?
I hated it. Not anymore. At that time, I very much hated running, and I hadn't done it since I was 18. So that was about 42 years old, in and around there. And I was like, okay. I had these running shoes that were probably 10 years old, and I just scheduled myself to start doing some runs. I started with like 3 5Ks a week. A week, 3 5Ks a week. And I didn't, like, honestly, I had no clue what was normal and what wasn't, because I was also very, I wouldn't say I'm a loner, but I'm an individual, and I don't really typically meet a lot of people or go out much. I mean, I have friends and stuff, but it's not like, I'm not like that guy who goes out all the time. So for me, it was, I started running, and I didn't talk to a lot of people about what's a fast time, what's not. I just kind of did. And I wasn't fast. Like, for any of your listeners, when you can hear where I started and what I'm doing now, this should help you kind of get to another level if possible. I was running 5K, and that would take me 30 to 40 minutes. And I would do that 3 times a week. Now, to your point, how we were discussing earlier, like when you do things, you want to do them right.
Right.
So I'm kind of the same way, and I obsess. And some of my mental health issues that affected me negatively, I started trying to figure out how to use those in a positive way. I obsess, I have anxiety, and I think about things all the time. So I thought about, okay, maybe if I could shift this somehow for a positive way. So I obsessed over running. And I just started watching videos, started reading, started podcast, all these different types of things to figure out how to do it better, because I was in pain all the time. And that's kind of what started the journey. And that was about 3 years ago.
That's interesting, but you told us that you had an issue.
Yeah.
Family, financial, stress, right? And then you start running. But when did you start thinking about running or raising money to others, help others?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I started running the summer of 2019. Anyway, so in 2020, the beginning of 2020, I started seeing progress. In 2019, I was running, and then in January, February, I was like, oh wait, I'm developing here, because I was always doing it. And I heard a podcast, a Joe Rogan podcast, and there was a guy on his podcast named Cameron Haynes. And Cameron Haynes is in his 50s, and he's an ultra endurance athlete. And at the time, he was working full time. And he would run a marathon a day when he would train for a 100-mile or 200-mile race. So he would run 21 kilometers in the morning, go to work, after work, another 21. So he would run a marathon a day. And I heard that, and I was like, what? How do you do that?
Is that possible?
Is that possible? I didn't know that was possible. I didn't even know that people did that. So I was like, I want to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
So what I did was, and I heard that podcast probably in January of 2021-ish, maybe 2020. And no, that was in 2021, sorry. And then I was like, okay, let me see if I can do something similar. So I wanted to test myself. And a lot of what I do is always challenging myself. I always try to see if I can do things better. So I want to challenge myself. So at that time, I kind of built myself to running. I could do 10K a day. I got to that point after about a year of kind of running. 6 months or so. And then I thought, okay, let's see if I can run 11K a day and then set up a schedule of a 10-week plan. And then at the 10th week, I want to be able to run 21 kilometers every single day for a week. So I started with 11. So after 10 weeks, week 1, 11K every day, 12 every day, 13 every day, and then progressively up to 21. And I got there and I was like, and it clicked. I was like, I can run across Canada. Immediately I thought of Terry Fox. Immediately.
And who is Terry Fox?
So Terry Fox is a Canadian icon. He is, well, he was a cancer patient in the early 1980s. He was from the Poco region, Poco-Coquitlam area, and he had cancer. And while he had cancer, through his treatments, he would attend various different hospitals and would see other children with cancer, and that inspired him to do something positive. And he saw these children that were suffering, and he was like, why are these kids suffering?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this even happening in a country like ours that has all the means and has all the support? Why is this happening here? So he wanted to do something. So he created something called the Marathon of Hope. And he wanted to run a marathon a day across Canada. And so why is that amazing or notable? Well, one, he's the first person to attempt it, at least as far as I know. Number two, he had one of his legs amputated, so he only had one leg. So Terry Fox began in the early 80s, April 12th, he left St. John, Newfoundland to start running a marathon a day on one leg and a prosthetic. And for your listeners, prosthetics nowadays are very different than what they were 40 years ago. And they were like pegs back then. So it also would cause additional damage while he's running. But having said that, he's an inspiration because he would run a marathon. And it's not about running it fast. That guy was doing it, 10 hours every single day, grinding it out. And why is that exceptional? Well, his cancer came back. He was doing something for the collective, for other people, not for himself. And his cancer came back halfway through the run, and he ended up passing away in Thunder Bay. And the statues all over this country of this guy. And since his death, he's in his name, $1 billion has been raised for cancer research since his death. That's been 40 years. So for me, that's why it's a big deal. I thought about him immediately because I was like, oh man, if he could run a marathon a day on one leg, I can do that. I got two.
Right.
And I'm probably a better athlete. And so that's what started the idea.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, I was dealing with so many of my own mental health issues. Like I had some really dark moments, right? I was very alone, very isolated. It was very unpleasant, to say the least. So for me, it was a natural connection to try to raise money for veterans and first responders that are dealing with mental health issues because I was one of them. So that's kind of what started it all. Now, I'm raising money for a charity called the Honor House Society. And what they do is support all veterans and emergency personnel in uniform. So that includes firefighters, paramedics, police.
And this is in New Westminster?
It's in New Westminster. It's one facility with one employee. They have another facility in Ashcroft, which is about 4 hours from here, which they're trying to grow and develop so they can have like full-on equine therapy treatments and various other things. But I elected to support that charity because they don't really distinguish about mental health, PTSD or not. It's just like, okay, you're dealing with some mental health issues, occupational stress maybe, PTSD, anxiety, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. Whatever the label is, it doesn't really matter. People need support and help, so it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it's a great. And my question is, what is your goal for this fundraising? You're planning to raise how much money?
So the goal for August, when I'm running I start August 5th, I'll start in Revelstoke, and I'm running a marathon every single day. I'll be finishing in Victoria at the Bastion in Victoria, and the Bastion in Victoria is a monument that memorializes all first responders that have passed away in the line of duty. And it's a monument in Victoria. I'll be finishing there. And the goal is to raise $50,000.
$50,000 that goes to?
That goes directly to Honor House. And Honor House will use that money to service the people that need it. And the goal is to raise $50,000, but that's just the number. I mean, whatever we raise is amazing. And the reality is this is my life now, so I'll be doing it every single day for the rest of my life. So it'll be millions hopefully one day.
And how people can make a donation?
So I have multiple platforms that people can go onto. So I have a website.
Okay.
It's sachinmotion.ca. They can donate. There's links there. They can donate. And any donation, any Canadian donation that's made receives a Canadian tax receipt. I don't touch any of the money. It goes directly through PayPal and goes straight to the charity. And so you can do it through the website. I have an Instagram account where you can also follow my journey, where I'm on that all the time. So I'm posting up a lot of podcasts, a lot of stories, all these things. But you can also donate through there. I have a link tree in my bio. You can click on that. You can go directly and donate there. In a 12-month period, when I started this, I raised almost $50,000 for the charity, just a year ago. That was all done through social media, all through Instagram, and people raising awareness that way. So, and the ultimate goal for me is like a 10-year plan for that YouTube channel. Document everything that I do over the next 3, 4, 5 years, which will be 22 marathons, and next year will be another thing, and then 2025 run across Canada. Right. All this stuff will be documented, and then that way we can share that with people, so that if they watch it, they can learn, they can be inspired, they can have a little fun along the way.
Okay, we are here having this. I'm so glad. I'm so honored to have you here.
Pleasure's mine.
I need to repeat that Sach is raising money for a good cause to help the veterans, because I'm here not for the podcast. I'm here try to help you raise money and be part of this.
No, honestly, I honestly really want to thank you, man, and I appreciate you asking me to come on, because it's appreciated, man, because it does help people, and I understand that's what you're trying to do, and I really appreciate that, and I respect that. So thank you so much.
And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming here to my house.
Yes.
I will be more than happy to help you.
Yes, thank you.
Spread the word.
Yes.
Where I work, with my friends, in Brazil, whatever. We never know where this word will get.
You never know. It takes one person.
It takes one person to change your life, right?
That's it.
Yeah. And after here, and just to wrap this up, after these 22 marathons, your next goal is running across Canada.
I got a couple. I'll tell you real quick.
Okay.
So the 22 marathons are in August. Part of the reason why I'm doing the 22 is primarily it's a training ground for me. It's to train for my ultimate goal in 2025, which is to run across Canada, but not just run across Canada, but break the record for the fastest run across Canada. So what that means is Canada coast to coast is 7,300 kilometers. It's the equivalent of elevation gain of 7 Everests, right? And the current record right now is 7,300 kilometers run completed in 67 days, 10 hours. So that's about 106 kilometers every single day for 67 days, 10 hours. Dave Proctor set that record last year. He's from Calgary. My goal is to see if I can beat that, which would be 66 days or whatever, just under what he does. And that would be close to 108 kilometers of running every single day for 66 days. Can it be done? I don't know. Can I do it? I don't know. But I'm going to try my hardest to see if I can.
If you are planning to make a donation to this cause, watch this out. Anybody can do it. Individuals, companies, corporations. You can donate $1, $100, or $1,000. It's up to you. The donation goes directly to Honor House, and you will get a receipt that you can use in your tax return. Let me show you step by step on how to make a donation. Just go to sachinmotion.ca. From there, you can enjoy the reading about everything Sach has been doing. If you click in About, you will see a picture where it says, an endurance athlete advocating for those suffering in silence. If you click in Initiatives, you can find information about our Canadian Armed Forces personnel, veterans, first responders, and their families. And there is no better phrase to describe it. Our vision is to help those who run in when everyone else runs out. Just scroll down and then you will find Make a Donation and Donate button. And you can make a donation from here. Thank you. Sach, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you, man.
I'm so glad, and it's my pleasure, it's my honor. I have no words to say thank
Well,
you.
don't say anything else, man. That's enough.
I think if I could run at least 10K with you, I would help you with
Hey,
10K.
man, anything, like, you can run whatever you want with me, and it'd be my honor, my pleasure. We get your daughter out there too, get your wife out there, we get all of us having a good time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.